Thank you. I absolutely agree with every one of you, and I think you all are right. I sat down and spent some time trying to think about this one, and I've got a lot of things running through my head. There are a couple
on?
It's on.
Sorry.
There's a couple theories out there. One, they call it the melting pot, and the other one is the salad bowl. And those two things are running through my head. And as a community, we try to get into this melting pot. But in reality, maybe it is a salad bowl, and you bring your culture with you. And I think we've had it wrong in America when we talk about the melting pot. I think we can all be here together and mix as a salad. And there are two different theories so I've been listening to this thing and it's been running through my head, but I think all that, it comes into play. And you don't have to leave that culture behind. You don't have to leave your cuisine behind and all these other things. In fact, you ought to reach back out to South Korea. That's the homeland. There's nothing wrong with that. The melting pot says, leave all that behind and you join me in America and do it exactly the way we did it. I'm not so sure that's true anymore. But anyhow, that was in my head. But the second thought was, I came up with a little thesis after listening to this thing, and the thesis goes like this. It's my belief it comes down to two things. One is focus, and the other one is patriotism. Those two words. And they've got some meaning to them. So what do I mean? The thesis is stay focused. And then the other part of it is it's your patriotic duty. And the definition of focus is that thing that's greatest importance and the center of whatever I do. That's focus. And don't lose that. And the other piece of it is on patriotism, it's love of country. So that love of country says it's your patriotic duty to do it. And then my observations are this. It's your patriotic duty to blend in and assimilate into the American way. But it doesn't mean you leave behind all the other things. It's your patriotic duty to learn English fluently, to become proficient. And the reason I wrote that one is English is one of the best vehicles for transferring your values and your beliefs to America. Don't leave it behind, but use the English. So if you become fluent in English, then you can bring that and bring it and put it in a melting pot or put it in the salad bowl. But I think you can do that. Another one is your patriotic duty to get involved in organizing and supporting Korean Americans and others for local and state and public office. And that's the one, you gotta go vote. And if you don't vote, then you don't get to carry forth the standards and the policies that are being formulated. That's the thing you're saying. But you gotta vote. You do it and you start off in the local offices. And you do those things that give you that power to build these organizations. It's your patriotic duty to help the Korean church, and I put this one down, this is through the eyes of Sonny, I've been watching for a while, to take a stronger role in social justice and community-related issues. I just don't believe the Korean church takes a strong enough role in social justice and those issues. And the reason I wrote it is because religion in America helps to shape values. And the social order and the understanding that there are things out there bigger than us. And the church is in the center of this thing. So in my mind, we've got to somehow push the Korean church. They won't do it on their own because you tend to stay out of politics. And the black church has the same problem. They just move outside and go do it. But you get there and say separation of church and state. No, social justice. And I believe the Korean church can play a huge role in that one. It's your patriotic duty to volunteer for leadership positions in the local schools, clubs, civic organizations. Be the president, be the secretary. Get actively involved in your larger communities. And volunteer your time on activities and projects that involve social integration, cultural exposure, unity, and organizational pride. You've got to get involved. That's the thing that's going to pull all these things together that I think you are talking about and everyone else is speaking of. And it's your patriotic duty to rally the Korean community and affect large-scale mobilization of efforts around what I call common interests, such as sports and summer camps and science clubs and boys and girls clubs, and mobilize the local community to go back to Korea. Take some tours and go back to the homeland. That's part of who you are. That's what you bring. And that's the melting pot. That's what makes America great. We're all immigrants. Everyone here is an immigrant. And you have something to add. And those other questions, damn right, you belong here. And you have something to add. And it's that important. I really believe it. But that one, Sonny, I had to work on that one a little bit. I thought about it, and I may be wrong. I don't know. But I believe everything you've all said is
May I just add that the General Ellis's words, the U.S. Army has been on the forefront of civil rights and promoting diversity in this country for decades. So just a shout out to the U.S. Army. I remember reading General Colin Powell's book on this.
Yeah, I'll speak to that very quickly. You are absolutely right. And I'm a product of it. Okay? So when in 1964, the schools were still segregated in Maryland. That's when we integrated the schools. They used to send kids out of the state to another state in the north because they didn't want you to go to the schools. So I didn't have the opportunity to go to West Point. I think there were 8 blacks in the West Point class of 68. One or another wouldn't have had the opportunity. But I ended up being the 4th black 4-star general in the United States Army. But it was because of all these things you're talking about and other people are talking about that provided an opportunity. Sure, I had to work hard. Sure, I had to deliver. But it was the opportunity that was presented, and the military it tends to lead in that forefront. You get some pushback. It's out there. We got taken to court, and we're still doing it. One more thing, and I'll shut up. Selection boards. That's how we select our leaders. So what we did in the Army, we made it a policy. And the policy at the time was that if you have a female in the population that's being looked at, then you have to have a female on the board. If you have a Korean in the population, then you have to have a Korean on the board. That's the way we did it. They took us to court. But that's how we changed the system. And so all the things you were saying are so right, and they're right on target. I can't agree more. Anyhow, enough. I'm off my soapbox.